This section includes planning for deployment, deployment status and icons, deploying objects, redeploying objects, and undeploying objects. Until you deploy your Archesta IDE environment to the runtime environment, changes you make in your Galaxy do not appear in runtime environment. To see deployed runtime data associated with your objects, use the Object Viewer or InTouch. Both of these are discussed in other training modules. Before you can deploy, this requires installing the necessary software on each target machine in the proper order. The software allows objects to talk to PLCs and displays information on InTouch, Windows Viewer, etc. This makes your objects live and functional. Let's discuss what software is needed. First, all computers that are part of the Galaxy must have Bootstrap installed. This is a Wonderware communication software to talk to all devices and production machines. Bootstrap comes with the Wonderware-based software. Next is to install WinPlatform. Only one WinPlatform object can be deployed to a computer, which means a computer can only belong to one Galaxy at a time. The platform hosts, monitors, and compiles statistics about the state of the computer it is on, and starts and stops the engines. Then we have the App Engine, which is a scan-based object where the execution scan retrieves data from a PLC, programmable logic controller. The App Engine objects host area objects for alarm grouping and filtering. The application goes to the PLC and gathers data based on the scan time parameters set in the configuration attributes. For example, 1 second, a half a second. Next are the area objects, which host application objects. Application objects represent equipment in the plant like mixers, heaters, valves, tanks, and so on. The App Engine objects host device integration objects, which allow all objects to communicate to the field objects through drivers such as DA servers, OPC servers, and legacy I/O servers. The first WinPlatform instance deployed is used as the Galaxy Repository, GR, which is different from subsequent platforms because it is the Win platform for the Galaxy Repository. The icon for the GR node is always yellow instead of the standard white. Also, the GRPlatform object is automatically configured with the computer name of the Galaxy Repository node. This should be verified that the correct computer name is used, as the Galaxy Repository may be located on a different machine. A WinPlatform object can host several App Engine objects. Application Engine objects can host several areas and DI or Device Integration objects. Multiple App Engine objects allow running objects at different scan rates, meaning how often does the App Engine retrieve data from the PLC? 1 second, 1/2 a second? Here is a quick view of the Deployment View tab of the Archesta IDE. Take a moment to identify platforms, app engines, area objects, and so on. Let's review a few deployment status indicators or icons that relate directly to deployment, especially when planning your deployment. Checked out, as indicated by the check mark. This appears when an instance is checked out of the Galaxy Repository. Changes can be made to the object in the Galaxy Repository and then redeployed. Configuration error, as indicated by an X. This means a configuration problem. For example, an object is created and some configuration is needed. For example, the remote machine address. The object will not be deployed until the error is corrected. Warning error, as indicated by an exclamation mark. This means an object has a configuration error, but it still can be deployed. To see what these errors are, right-click the item and select Properties. Then, click the last tab called Errors and Warnings. The error for this item appears. Deployed. When an object is deployed, no status icon displayed. Not deployed. As indicated by a yellow square. This means an item has never been deployed or was undeployed. Deployed but pending changes, as indicated by the yellow and black square. Means an item is deployed, but there are pending changes that still need to be deployed to runtime. The deployment view is part of the Orchestra IDE that shows how objects are physically dispersed across platforms, areas, and engines. So you're now ready to deploy objects in your Galaxy. You deploy object instances for two main reasons. Place the application into production to process field data. Update an application with changes. Before you deploy, make sure the following conditions are met. Bootstrap software is installed on all computers. The objects for deployment are not in an error state in the Galaxy database. Check the status icon to be sure. The hosting relationships of objects are configured, and the object's host is deployed. For example, an area object cannot be deployed if the hosting App Engine object is not deployed first. Additionally, the App Engine object cannot be deployed if the hosting Win Platform object is not first deployed. You select Deploy from the right-click shortcut menu. The Deploy dialog box appears with options for you to choose. As we mentioned on the previous page, before an object can be deployed, the hosting area object must be deployed first. When deploying objects, there are settings on the Deploy dialog box to consider. Cascade Deploy, when checked, deploys the chosen instance to runtime, as well as all objects it hosts and the objects that object may host, and so on. Therefore, you can deploy the entire hierarchy of objects in the correct order with this one action. The initial scan state options are to choose to turn the scan state off or scan on. If you turn the scan off, you will need to manually turn this scan back on through the Windows Viewer or Graphics, both of which are explained in additional training modules. Redeploying objects is the same as deploying an object. If you are testing your objects, especially after making changes, you need to redeploy your application or instance to review the changes you made. The process first undeploys the object, thereby removing it from production, and then installs or redeploys the object again with the changes. For example, you have an object whose deployment state is pending an update. By using deploy, it updates the object in the Galaxy with a newer version than previously deployed into runtime. First, you select the object. Then, using the right-click method, select Deploy from the shortcut menu. Notice the Cascade Deploy option is turned off. There are no hosted objects. Sometimes it may be necessary to remove an object from production or undeploy the object. Undeploying removes one or more objects from the runtime environment. If you need to rearrange the deployment model, the objects must first be undeployed. For example, to move an area object from one app engine to another, the area and its hosted objects must be undeployed first. The app engine object can remain deployed as well as any other object deployed to that app engine. Here is another example. If you need to retire a piece of equipment or rename something in the Galaxy, you need to undeploy this from runtime. This demonstration describes some of the basic concepts you just learned in the deployment model section. Now, let's create a deployment model for a Galaxy and then deploy the application. We start on the Deployment tab to display the deployment view. For this training, we expand the Unassigned Host section. Remember, we are using a training environment here, so your section may be named something different. From the Template toolbox, create a new instance of WinPlatform. As mentioned previously, the first instance we create represents the Galaxy repository, or GR. We rename the instance to GRPlatform. Notice the status icon, yellow, to represent Galaxy repository, and the undeployed yellow square icon. The first instance of WinPlatform resides on the GR platform. Now that we have our Galaxy repository, we create another platform. We rename this instance to AOS Platform 1. Notice the red arrow. Now that we have our Galaxy repository, we create another platform. We rename this instance to AOS Platform 1. Notice the red error icon next to the new platform. This indicates there is a configuration error. We need to configure the new platform with a remote computer name or IP address, however your networking naming convention is set up. Now let's configure our AOS platform. While still on the Deployment View tab, double-click the new platform to open the Configuration Editor window. Notice now we have a red checkmark appearing next to the AOS platform. This indicates the object is currently checked out. On the General tab, we enter the computer name of the remote AOS node in the network address field. In the top right corner, click the Save and Close icon. The check-in dialog box appears. Enter a comment in the field. For example, change network address. Click the OK button. The red checkmark and the red X for the AOS Platform 1 no longer appears because the platform is checked in and now configured. Now that we have our Galaxy repository, we start on the Deployment tab to display the deployment view. For this training, we represent Galaxy instance of WinPlatform resides on our platform. Now that we have our Galaxy repository, we create another platform. We rename this instance to AOS Platform 1. We have our Galaxy repository. Now that we have our Galaxy repository, we create another platform. We rename this instance. Now that we have repository, we create another platform. We rename this instance to AOS Platform 1. Notice the red error icon next to the new platform. This indicates there is a configuration error. We need to configure the new platform with a remote computer name or IP address, however your networking naming convention is set up. Now let's configure our AOS platform. While still on the Deployment View tab, double-click the new platform to open the Configuration Editor window. Notice now we have a red checkmark appearing next to the AOS platform. This indicates the object is currently checked out. On the General tab, we enter the computer name of the remote AOS node in the network address field. In the top right corner, click the Save and Close icon. The check-in dialog box appears. Enter a comment in the field. For example, change network address. Click the OK button. The red check mark and the red X for the AOS Platform 1 no longer appears because the platform is checked in and now configured. Now let's add an App Engine instance. Again, right-click and select New and then Instance from the shortcut menu. We rename this to App Engine 1. Since platforms host engines, we move the new engine instance to our platform by dragging and dropping the engine to AOS Platform 1. The deployment view now shows all objects in the deployment model are hosted. The deployment view now shows all objects in our model as assigned to App Engine 1. As previously shown in this training, we created the control system area object for non-equipment instances. This also acts as a logical organization for filtering alarms, as you see in the Alarms training modules. Now, let's return to the Model tab view. We move AOS Platform 1, App Engine 1, and the GR platform into the control system area from the unassigned host area, either by using the drag and drop or right-click Assign to methods. To the now the unassigned host area, either by using the drag and drop or right-click Assign to methods. Now it's time to deploy all the objects in the Galaxy to the runtime environment. As mentioned earlier, the platform for the Galaxy repository node must be deployed first in the Galaxy from the Deployment tab view. We right-click on the GR platform, select Deploy from the shortcut menu. The Deploy dialog box appears. Notice, because we selected a single item, the Cascade Deploy is turned off. The Deployment dialog box appears and displays the progress of the deployment. This can take a few minutes. When the deployment is complete, the progress displays 100%. We are now ready to deploy the second platform, AOS Platform 1. As a note, you could have right-clicked the Galaxy and selected Deploy from the shortcut menu. This would have deployed the GR platform first, then deployed the rest of the platforms in parallel. Additionally, if you choose this method and this is the first time you have deployed your Galaxy, this could be a lengthy process. Since we deployed the GR node first, we can now deploy all the objects in the Galaxy to the runtime environment. We right-click on AOS Platform 1, select Deploy from the shortcut menu. The Deploy dialog box appears. Notice, now the Cascade Deploy is turned on and we can deploy all the objects hosted by the platform. The Deploy dialog box appears and displays the progress of the deployment. When the deployment is complete, the progress displays 100% complete. The deployment view now displays all objects in the Galaxy are deployed. This section describes some basic concepts about planning for deployment, deployment status and icons, deploying objects, redeploying objects, undeploying objects. Now, you're ready to answer the final knowledge check questions.